that technical expertise and success in a job is, I don't know, 10, 15%. The other 85 to 90% is how you lead, communicate, and interact with others. And again, I'm not talking individual contributors, I'm talking about the people in charge. So who teaches you that? Who teaches you how to communicate and interact with others? You know, I have really been blessed with a few great mentors, but I have had my fair share of absolutely terrible ones as well. And how many of you have been fully trained to take on a position before you were given the helm? How many of you entered a job and took over the helm only to find out it's not exactly as you were told before getting into it? What do you do? How do you know what to do? And we have some books that we'll talk about at the end that really help you as a leader know how to get into situations like that and make the most of them. Also, for delegation, as your company grows, you are going to have to delegate. And everybody, as we move up the chain, we want to replace people that can think on their own and have a great skill set. Otherwise, we as managers have to go back down and do their job too. And we've all seen that happen so many times, and that cannot be. So you want employees that can think and make decisions as well as mistakes on their own. So getting them on a sound reading program like yours can really get them grounded and on their own path for success. And some of the best books, and again we'll talk about some more at the end that I recommend for that, are Mark Sanborn and Bob Burg's for customer service, unprecedented, that you can give to individual contributors, and they will see how they have a vested interest in the company. One by Mark says you don't need a title to be a leader, and the Fred Factor, and Bob Burg's new book, Go Give or Sell More. I was reading a blog by Tony Alessandro earlier today, and again, you want to turn customers and employees into apostles. When you delegate, you want them to have as much passion as the business owner for going out and spreading the good word. Third reason why to read is teamwork. And I was kind of impressed by a quote I read. It says, you don't grow close by doing things together. You grow close by thinking together. And it really struck me. And I'm all for team activities. When I had bigger organizations, I would love to host the annual Christmas party or take the team out to a sporting event. But sometimes that can come off as mandatory fun. And Albert Hubbard had said, no book is of much importance. The vital thing is, what do you yourself think? And I have been told by many previous employees that what they look up to most as a manager is how they made them feel and what they made them think. And by sharing a book with your team, a book can leave a lasting impression on an employee. And I'm going to show you a testimonial later about that. Another reason why books are so good with emphasizing teamwork is books are an outside expert. When I bring a book in on how we should do customer service, they're not hearing it from me. They're not hearing somebody's opinion within the group, because sometimes we can all get parochial. It falls into turf protection. Well, if I do what this side of the organization wants me to do, are they trying to take over my job? Books don't have a tone of voice. They don't carry rank. They're very objective, and each person can pull out of it what they want. So books, if I read a book on leadership on Lincoln, people may argue with me over my leadership skills, but not too many people are really going to argue about a Lincoln or a Patton and their leadership skills. So it takes away the personality from everything. Another reason to read is money's tight. Bringing in a speaker potentially, corporate trips to Vegas, maybe not in the budget anymore, and just for a few dollars you can introduce your entire team to really the kings and queen of the earth in business and in their profession, and learn how to do it. At the bottom of the page here, we have a quote here from Joseph Addison. It says, books are the legacies that great genius leaves to mankind. So basically, in a nutshell, that's why we should read. It's genius. It's there for us to uncover and rediscover, and for that in and of itself we should read. All right. Now, next we're going to talk about, we're sold on why we should read. Okay, we have the intention to read. The next thing is how to read. And When you read, as you sit down, you really have to have a definiteness in your purpose in selecting what you read. A lot of times when we give a book, we'll recommend it to somebody and say, this is why it made an impact on me. And that's really good, because then the person can know, what is the purpose of reading this? Am I reading to become a better salesperson, a better leader, a better decision maker? Am I a better customer service? So really, you should read with a goal in mind. And I know sometimes at the end of the day we feel like our brains are tired, but I also have read that the brain can never do too much, and that the only time it becomes exhausted is when it is not doing anything. And I can look back throughout my career, the times when I was most tired or lethargic or unmotivated is when the challenge was not there. I was not learning, I was not growing, and I felt exhausted, but really it was just inactivity. So that's the time when you're starting to get into that slump to pull out a good book. Let's talk a little bit about 3 ways to help you better develop how to read. First of all, you have to form systematic study habits. It's just like going to the gym. It's just like discipline, saving plan. You have to form systematic habits. You should not begin any kind of reading with any type of reluctance, and as with any kind of new habit, it's going to take you time to learn these steps. One of the greatest quotes I read from Frederick Harrison, he said that reading of great books is a faculty to be acquired and not a natural gift. And that made me feel a lot better, because I personally, I'm like everybody else. There's other things I could rather do. Nap, watch TV, play with the dog, whatever. Reading and focusing is a faculty to be acquired. And I kept thinking, well, I just wasn't born with it. I'm just not a born reader. I may not be just a born leader. And that really encouraged me that just like any other skill set, it can really be developed. And lastly, when you read and reread, and make notes of what you read and what you think when you read. That's how you really read. Second of all, we need to share what we've read. John Wanamaker said, it is not good enough to be well read. We must help others by what we read. If we're leaders and we're getting all this great advice, we really have to share that to help others. And one of the ways that Dad, early on in his career, started really sharing books was, he said that when he would go on different meetings and sales calls, he would hand people his business card. Well, he said he noticed that oftentimes the business card would get discarded, and he said sometimes people would really even hurt his feeling and throw the card away even in his presence. And I'm sure we've known, I've stacks of business card all over. What Dad used to do is, rather than hand out a business card, he would hand out a book. And if you really want to, you can tuck your business card inside a book. And we'll go in the back and look at some of the little books that we gave. So when you go to prospective client or a potential customer, you're not just giving them a card, you're giving them a book. You're giving them an insight into how you think, what makes you tick, and how they can change their lives. The other thing is, with sharing it, everything is a reflection of you as a leader. You probably have noticed, for those of you that have your individual private desk, or even if you have just a cubicle, employees are fascinated with coming in and looking at the pictures on your desk. Do you have a calendar on the wall? What's on the calendar? Is it nature? Is it dogs? Is it sports cars? Employees are always looking at the manager to see what makes them tick. Keep a great library on your shelf. When they come in and look at that, and if they comment on them, tell them to take one. Encourage them to read and borrow. When they see that you are reading good material on how to better talk to people, how to interact with people, how to grow the business, that says the employee, my boss is interested in getting better. There's a quote from the Royal Path of Life that says, you may judge a man more truly by the books and papers which he reads than by the company in which he keeps. And boy, is that true, because sometimes the company that we interact with, is that a necessity for just the position we're in or who we married? But really, books are a very personal reflection of who you are as a person. The other thing, and Jason brought this up yesterday, is books. When an employee sees books on the shelf, that really gives a sense of humility about the leaders. That is to say, if I've got books on the shelf, what I am really saying and what it says to the employees is, I don't have all the answers, but it lets them show that you are reading books and seeking out knowledge to find out how to get the answers. And I think back on my dad throughout the years. When I would come to him for answers, even when other people would come to